Hi, I'm Kyle.
And I'm Trevor, and welcome to Catching Up on Cinema. If you're not familiar with the show, Catching Up on Cinema is a podcast wherein Kyle and I take turns introducing one another to movies, and in this way we help one another to catch up on our cinema. This month, July 2019, has been our month of movies about making movies. So for the most part, we've been covering documentaries about making movies. And so for the final week in the month of July, not going to lie, going to be straightforward with y'all. This episode was cobbled together on the quick because I miscalculated and did not realize that there are, in fact, 5 Tuesdays in July this year. Today we're going to be covering a documentary by the name of The Shark is Still Working, The Impact and Legacy of Jaws, directed by Erik Hollander, and I believe released in the year 2012, though I think it was being assembled for quite some time.
I think it started about 2007 from what I could gather.
Yeah, I know it. I think it was released maybe in like on TV or in festivals early on, but then like some additional material came into play and they took it back to the drawing board and did like a George Lucas special edition with it or something. But officially the release date is listed as 2012. So Jaws is a classic film.
Have you heard of it?
Yeah, maybe. Have you heard of this movie,
little,
Jaws?
This little gem from the 1970s by a little...
Yeah, it's directed by a Steven Spielberg, maybe a little-known director.
Ready Player One, have you heard of him? Yeah.
Yeah, you know, known for such classics as Ready Player One.
The Terminal. Yeah, he's got some good ones under his belt.
Yeah, the best movies. Munich, oh my god.
I didn't know he did Munich.
Classics.
That actually changes things for me because I didn't know he did Munich, so...
Munich is an aggressive film. Like, I mean, honestly, Munich is one of those super controversial but mainstream films that kind of got swept under the rug. Because, like, when you think about what that is about, holy shit, that is aggressive.
I've heard good things about it, but I have not seen it.
It's not a bad movie, but when you actually think about what is happening and the fact that this was real, it's like, whoa, these aren't good people. No one involved in this story is a good person. This is just malicious, awful violence. Yeah, Jaws, I don't know about you, Kyle. I guess we should get into that up front. Jaws, for me, is one of the big ones. It's a massively important movie to me. I used to watch it constantly on, like, TNT or TBS, because it was on all the time. And this was at a point in my life, I was pretty young, when being able to watch a movie with my dad was something that struck me as being like really important because he wasn't terribly interested in a lot of the things that I was interested in.
You don't say.
Transformers the movie, he could care less about that. Hey Arnold, though. Hey Arnold on Nickelodeon, I think reminded him of his neighborhood, so he would actually watch that with me. But Jaws, he actually was a commercial fisherman at some point, so he'd been on the ocean, and Jaws he thought it was an awesome movie. I believe he saw it in theaters when it was brand new, and he loved it. And so he would watch it with me, and because of that, like it amplified the importance of the film in my mind. It's like, oh wow, this movie's important to Dad, so therefore it should be important to me too. And so like I kind of became obsessed with it for a while. And I think a lot of people in our relative age range had the same thing or similar circumstances, because I feel like Shark Week, like the popularity of that exploded as a result of the repeated screenings of the movie on cable and stuff.
Well, I think that everybody should, hold dear at least one Spielberg movie. So, from one degree or another, like, he's made a lot of iconic films. Mine would be Jurassic Park. That would be the one that I've seen dozens of times. If it was on TV, I'm going to stop and watch it. I thought about watching it yesterday, actually.
Was it raining, Kyle?
No, but that does get you. See, the problem is when it rains here, my Wi-Fi goes out, and I have Jurassic Park on Amazon. I know. But no, it should be Schindler's List. That's the one that everybody should hold dear. But no, we picked Jaws and Jurassic Park. By the way, Trevor still hasn't seen that.
I know, I'm a terrible person.
Okay, just making
and
sure.
And I actually have Jewish in my family, so I'm like a doubly bad person.
Let me So actually, so Jaws for me, I saw when I was young, and it was interesting. They bring it up in this movie about how when this movie came out, in this documentary, they mentioned that when Jaws came out, people were afraid to go in the water. I am actually one of those people. I was totally fine swimming in the ocean, and I saw Jaws, and to this day, I will swim. I will sit in the water for about 5 minutes, and then I get out, and then when I get my courage back up, I'll go back in for about 5 minutes, hip deep. I don't go chest deep. I go hip deep, the deepest, and then I get back out again. So I'm actually one of those people that was scared by this movie.
Yeah, I definitely felt that too, because I've mentioned it several times on the show. Like, aquatic monster movies are my jam. That's like my favorite thing, and like forevermore. Like if ever I hear about a sea monster movie of some sort on the horizon, which I haven't in many years now, except for like the Sharknado bullshit, which I couldn't care less about, my ears perk up. And I remember going to visit my friend at like his lake cabin with his parents, and we'd be swimming out there. And yeah, I'd have a very similar reaction, like what you just described. Although, to be honest, mine was a little bit more irrational, because I was afraid of like a giant squid or something, which obviously is not going to come out of a lake, nor is it ever going to come to, the shallows.
I'm going to send you a video when we're done here. There's a guy on a paddleboard being attacked by a giant squid. So there you go. You can keep
What?
That. Yep. I will send it to
Mind
you.
blowing.
I will send that to you when we are done. I
do that, sir.
I just saw it this morning.
Speaking of which, The Shallows. Kyle, have you seen that?
No, and I've seen the end of Dark. I think is it Dark Water? I can't think. Open water, whatever it is, where the people are snorkeling or scuba diving, and the boat leaves them, and then there's sharks.
I think it's open water.
Open water. I saw the end of that, and there's a couple of little clips that freaked me out. But no, I haven't seen The Shallows. Is that any good?
It's like Aquaman good. Explain.
Yeah.
What I mean is it's very stupid.
Okay.
But it's well made on a technical level, and if you can check your brain at the door, you will have a very good time.
Okay. I can do that.
It's a very solid thriller that just happens to involve a shark and Blake Lively.
I watch horror movies, dude. I'm used to checking it at the doors.
Glad to hear it, because I think that's a very important tool to keep in your toolkit, because some people can't do that, and it makes movies suck for them all the time. It's like, you know what, man? Maybe you should find a different medium, man. Like, maybe you should stick to books, man.
One thing about this documentary I wanted to ask you about, did the soundtrack to this thing drive you nuts?
Because I actually wrote in my notes, music is too loud.
I didn't have to write it down. It was just driving me nuts the whole time. Like, are you going to do this the whole time?
Second paragraph, music is too loud.
Well, so there's what we were talking about before we started recording was that we believe that there is probably, I haven't seen it, a much better documentary about the making of Jaws, which we kind of thought that this documentary was going to be. We thought it would be, kind of, what did Spielberg go through? What were the tensions between Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss? And no, not so much. We touched on that just a little bit here and there.
Yeah, I like I said, I wanted to be kind of honest and upfront about this episode. This is kind of like a half abortion of an episode in some ways. Because, I mean, if you look at the other episodes we did this month, there's a consistent theme of them being about the filmmaking process, like chiefly about the making of a product. Mm-hmm. This one's more like I described it to you with a hand gesture. Yeah. This feels like a self-congratulatory like victory lap of a documentary. It's not so much going into the details of what went, like the blood, sweat, and tears that went into the making of the film. It's more just like, yeah, we did it. Jaws is awesome. It's like, I know that. We all know that.
It's literally Jaws is awesome, the documentary. Like, that's what this is about.
Yeah, it may as well just be called Jaws is awesome, or Jossum, the documentary. Jossum, the film. Although they would have to pay rights to Mattel or Trendmasters or whoever owns the Street Sharks.
Well, it's even funny because they actually get Richard Dreyfuss and Roy Scheider, I think even Steven Spielberg for this one, but he also shows clips from the documentary where they interview Richard Dreyfuss, Roy Scheider, and it's just funny because they're like, we got to talk about this shit again. What else do you need to know? Like, we already told you about it. But I don't know what the director's point was with this. This was also on the Blu-ray that you have. I don't know if it was just supposed to be added on.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, but yeah, the way that we ended up screening this movie is I own the Blu-ray of Jaws, and I got it to Kyle through non-traditional means.
Yes, he mailed it to me, and I just mailed it back to him after I finished it.
Yes, he did. He paid full postage. He tipped the mailman and everything. But yeah, this documentary is not, of course, not the first done about Jaws. They actually reference, in fact, they interview some of the people who made a previous one. Apparently, it was from 1997 called "In the Teeth of Jaws," and it was produced for the Laserdisc of Jaws. I have a feeling that that's a superior product. There's a lot more archival footage in that of like behind the scenes of getting Bruce the shark to function properly, and just going into the nitty gritty of what went into the process of making this film, because it's well known that Jaws was a troubled production. It's well documented. However, that isn't so much stressed in this documentary, and it's a little bit frustrating because of that, because I feel like you and I maybe knew more about the movie going in, and maybe we are both in fact dumber now that we've seen this movie.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I knew that. Like, oh no, wait, it had a small budget and made a ton of money? No shit. Like, I didn't.
Yeah, no shit.
It skyrocketed Spielberg's career? No way, really? Oh, and I think I hate Richard Dreyfuss. I think I just hate him. I don't know what it is about him, but seeing him in real life, he gets under my skin. I get why Robert Shaw was picking on him. Like, I totally get it.
I do too. It's funny because I actually adore Richard Dreyfuss as an actor. But yeah, in interviews, there's something about him that he's maybe a little too playful or something. Where it's like, stop acting.
He's on. He feels on.
Yeah. He does feel on because he's not very candid. It feels like he's being very selective as to what anecdotes he shares, because everyone else is talking about how awful the thing was, and he's just like talking about how awesome it was. It's like, come on, man. like everybody knows that Robert Shaw pretty much like came this close to beating your ass every day. Tell us about that.
Yeah, tell us about. That's what I wanted to hear about. I'm like, all right, what did you say to Robert Shaw to piss him off? But I think it's one of those things where Robert Shaw just didn't like his scent. He's just like, I don't like this one.
I think it's a combination of two things. It's both that. It's like, I crap bigger than you.
Yeah.
To quote Jack Palance. But also, I think maybe just from an acting standpoint, maybe he thought it would lend something to both of their performances. Because in character, they're supposed to have that relationship.
And yeah, even Spielberg says in the film, or in the documentary, that should be accredited to the author of the book, because that is the main. That's the main thing in the book is the tension between the crew, basically. I could see. I don't know much about Robert Shaw, if he was that insightful as an actor to, like, I don't know. I heard he was really hitting the booze pretty hard at this point. Like, he's like lifelong alcoholism.
I know he was a very hard man, but that's it. I haven't done much research into his filmography or his character as a person. So yeah, it could just have been him being a bully. But yeah, we're probably not going to go point by point with this episode like we tend to do, because honestly, it's just a victory lap.
Yeah.
Some people were critical of the first Avengers movie for that same reason, and that a lot of it felt like the producers or the director kind of like jerking themselves off and just being like, hey folks, we did it. we made all the money, and we're gonna continue to make all the money.
Speaking of making all the money, the Lion King's making all the money right now. Let's see.
And
here.
yet I don't hear much good about it, to be honest.
Nope. I haven't heard much. Did you see the animated one? The animated one from like the 90s? Yeah, it's the same fucking thing.
Of course,
so
yeah.
You've seen it. So it doesn't matter.
It's the same fucking it's the same fucking thing, but with more restrictions put on it, because in the realm of 2D hand-drawn animation, it's like, hey, if we want to do something crazy and just have a random light source appear from behind Uncle Scar and like have Nazi goose-stepping hyenas and stuff appear with green ethereal lighting, we can do that. Nobody will question that. But if you have photorealistic CGI and then you start doing crazy shit like that, like your computer, the actual computers animating that will be like,
no, you can't do
those
that.
Physics don't make sense. Like, the way that light's hitting that fur doesn't make sense.
Is there a Scar in this new Lion King movie?
Oh yeah, it's Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Okay, that's fine.
And I've heard a sample of his song. It's not "Be Prepared," which is basically one of the best Disney songs ever.
Correct.
It's right up there with Gaston.
I know it word for word. I'm pretty sure.
It's amazing. Even though Jeremy Irons was unable to complete the song, was it Jim Cummings, Disney's bitch? He did all of the Disney voices in the 90s. He did all of them.
Well, maybe back when Disney had bitches, now they have something far more painful than that.
I mean, Tim Allen is still like their beta bitch. Like, he's not even number 1 concubine. He's like number 4 concubine at this point.
I think they're more powerful than Tom Hanks now. Like they could like just completely shit can him and embarrass him. Like, no, fuck you, Tom Hanks. We're done with you piece of shit. They're that powerful that they could still turn a profit after that. They haven't done that, but they have that kind of power.
That's power you can't buy.
That's power you can't buy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's steel is strong, but flesh.
So back to
flesh is power.
Back to Steven Spielberg's Jaws. I didn't know this was based on a book. That completely floored me.
Really, you didn't know that?
I didn't know that. Even the author was like, "This is my first novel," and I'm like, "This isn't even gonna be a good novel. It's about a fucking shark." And then he's like, "Oh, yeah, they want the movie rights to this. They're gonna make a movie out of this." I'm like, holy shit, really? The book is huge. I can't believe the book was huge. That's shocking to me.
Actually, it is kind of shocking because I have read the book. I read a couple of Peter Benchley novels when I was younger, mostly because I liked the movie, and because in the '90s, again, because Jaws was on TV constantly, and because we got 4 movies out of it, I think TV and movie producers were wise to that and were like, so Jaws is like always going to be a thing. It's like, maybe we should try to cash in on that. Let's do some TV movies and slap Peter Benchley's name on it, and maybe his name will carry the same like cachet as like Steven Spielberg or Jaws. It's like, no, that's not how that works. I appreciate the effort, but no, that's not how that works. So they made The Beast, which is one of my favorite TV movies. I actually own the DVD. Have you seen it, Kyle?
I rented that book when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah, I read the book too.
I know
it's about a giant squid.
I checked it out. I didn't finish reading it.
The book, I think the TV movie is actually better than the book. And it's not great. It's just it's cozy, It's like solidly in the mid 90s, and like it just has that look and that feel. That's like, it's a good feeling. It's like a warm blanket.
Yeah.
But the other one they made was Creature, which I think you actually pointed out as something that you were curious about.
Possibly.
It's Craig T. Nelson in the Caribbean, I think.
Oh, yes. We looked at it, and there's like 4 movies named Creature, and that was one of them.
Yeah, there's too many of them. One of which is like the rapey space alien. It's like an alien knockoff. That's bad. Don't watch that.
I'm not gonna watch that.
But the Craig T. Nelson one, based on the Peter Benchley novel, is not good. But Stan Winston, and again, I was the kid who Stan Winston's name carried some fucking weight. So like when I heard about this, I was like, "What, a shark? Peter Benchley? Stan Winston?" Yes, I'm gonna stay up way too late to watch this 2-part TV movie.
Oh man.
And I did, and it sucked. But oh my god, Stan Winston's work on it, he made a very convincing shark man,
Interesting.
or shark dolphin man.
Shark
It's
dolphin
the makeup effects, like the prosthetics and animatronics, solid work. But movie sucks. And it's a TV movie, so it's not even gory, which is like the biggest letdown. But yeah, the original novel Jaws, I barely remember it. The one detail that jumps out at me is it's very similar to the whole controversy with It. You know how if you Google It, I think the chances are probably 50-50 that the first article you get is going to be about the kids doing the circle jerk or whatever.
Yeah. We all know about that.
Every internet journalist worth their salt put out some sort of think piece about that as soon as the movie was announced, the remake. Where it's like, oh yeah, did you totally didn't remember that they all slept with that girl in the sewer. It's like, yeah, I did remember that, but it didn't really jump out at me as something terribly worth remembering.
We're gonna look back.
The movie's not going to have that, by the way.
I honestly think we're gonna look back at Stephen King's influence on on U.S. culture, and we're just be like, why? He wasn't that great, guys. Misery is, I'd say, his best work, and it's fine.
It's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, Misery's good, and The Shining is good. And I'm like, other than that, kind of
Shawshank also, right?
Yeah, I think Shawshank's probably that's the number one.
Everybody loves Shawshank.
Shawshank is number one.
Everybody loves Shawshank.
Who did the
Shawshank is the Green Mile of Stephen King.
Okay,
also.
maybe it's his
Shawshank though. Shawshank is like your Jurassic Park, where if it comes on, you stop.
Yeah,
like you watch a couple minutes. But it'd be really funny, Kyle, is if like the planet goes to shit, we end up in Wall-E World, and then the one Stephen King property that survives and gets put in a glass vacuum sealed vault is Maximum Overdrive.
Or like, keep one of his
or like the faceplate of the Green Goblin semi-truck.
Oh god. But I'm not a Stephen King fan.
To me, he's cozy. He's not the best, but there's that warm, familiar feeling you get when you dive into his stuff. That I can see why he's so popular. But the point I was trying to make about it, though, was Jaws. The one thing that all the internet journalism think pieces would probably be about is that, if I remember right, Dreyfuss's character bangs Mrs. Brody on the side.
Oh, really? In the book?
Yeah, there's an affair that goes on in the book.
Yeah, we didn't
in the movies. We did not need that in this movie. But yeah, the characters in this movie are lovely. They really do make it in a lot of ways. And it was nice seeing Dreyfuss and Scheider. I really wish we had gotten more time, more FaceTime with Scheider. Because I don't know much about him, but everything I've ever seen him in, even the fucking Punisher, he made me smile. Like,
you should watch All That Jazz. That's the...
Yeah, you told me about that before.
Yeah, that's one I just caught when I was younger. It was just like on Cinemax or HBO one day, and I'd never seen a musical. It was kind of odd for a musical too, and I just kind of got sucked into it. I'm like, that's the guy from Jaws, and that's the only reason why I watched it too, was because it was him. It was because it was Roy Scheider.
What was it? My dad had me watch The Marathon Man. Have you seen that?
Is that short guy?
Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah, Dustin Hoffman. There we go.
Short guy. He has a weird scream.
Yeah, he's screaming.
He has a weird scream.
I don't know why, but his not Urban Cowboy. That's fucking Woody Harrelson.
Midnight Cowboy.
No, Urban Cowboy is John Travolta. There's another movie with. Yeah. Remember that Kiefer Sutherland, Woody Harrelson movie where they're cowboys in the city? It was one of those '90s movie rental box covers.
No, that's way over my head.
Ooh, I'll show you the cover for that one. I'm sorry, I'm getting lost here.
There's nothing to get lost in, Kyle.
Well, I just wanted
we're just talking.
I just wanted to point out some of the things I didn't know. I didn't realize that this movie was. I did learn some things from this. I didn't know that Steven Spielberg was 27 when he did Jaws. which is insane. Because he looks like a 38-year-old man when you see him shooting this movie.
It's the hair, I think.
It's the hair. Well, his nose too. He just has a very like I don't know. He just looks older. It makes him look more distinguished.
His nose was already like well defined. He had the kind of nose that's like you expect you to grow into that like later in life, but it's like no, that's solidly where it's going to be until the day he dies. It's calcified.
I was kind of surprised that he had so much clout that he managed to convince the studio to shoot on the ocean. The producer was like, no, this guy's going to be the greatest ever, and they're like, he's like, no, we're gonna shoot on the ocean. I'm a 27-year-old director. Remember that good movie I made? Yeah, I'm gonna do what's never been done before. I'm gonna actually shoot on the ocean. And I didn't realize that the limitations from this movie were what made it really good. The shark never working made them improvise.
Yeah, it's maybe the most famous example of that, where the limitations imposed on them were what forced them to get creative with their editing and their shooting, and even the style of the acting performances, because of all that downtime, they were forced to do a lot of the land scenes out of order, like when they weren't intending to do them, and then tons of the movie ended up being improvised as a result. And I feel like that's an important thing to keep in the back of your mind, like doing any art. Honestly, is that sometimes having fewer resources forces you to flex certain muscles that you didn't realize you ought to, and it results in maybe a better product. That's for the longest time that's been like a huge criticism of like ineffectual visual effects, I guess, where it's like clearly we just threw CGI at something because we figured it would just work itself out without doing what we did for, like, say, Jurassic Park, and we did at least a year's worth of just prep work figuring out how to get this technology to work the way we needed it to, as opposed to just shooting stuff and saying, we'll fix it in post, which can be done, but it doesn't make your animators happy, that's for sure.
I was gonna mention the advertising. One of the people in here is like, they think the term blockbuster came just from Jaws itself, and I'm like, no, I believe it came from King Kong, but I get where you're going with this. But Percy Rodriguez.
Funny. Sorry to derail you for a second, but just funny note is that Dino De Laurentiis was obsessed with Jaws. Mm-hmm. And he got a hold of the King Kong property, and that was always his objective. Is he's like, I'm gonna do that, but with a giant monkey, and it's like, it didn't work out the way we wanted it to the first time. Dino was like, well, we're gonna do it again in the 80s, and it'll be better because we'll have that Linda Hamilton lady, and the ape will have a robot heart this time, and there'll be a lady monkey with lady monkey tits, and he'll have that one guy from Beverly Hills Cop, and he'll get stepped on.
Is there an 80s King Kong movie with Linda Hamilton?
What? Kyle,
I did not know this.
For shame, Kyle. Yes,
Listen,
it's called King Kong Lives.
I'm sorry, Trevor. I've only seen the original King Kong for a film class that I had to take about horror movies, so I haven't seen any of the later adaptations other than Peter Jackson's King Kong. Peter Jackson's King Kong. I watch cinema. It's called Catching Up on Cinema.
Oh, no, I didn't hobnob with you snobs.
No, if I go 80s, I'm going sci-fi horror stuff. So
that makes sense.
It just kind of went under the radar there.
I think Linda Hamilton would agree with you too. She's like, why the fuck did I do that gorilla movie?
Waiting for you to get back from dinner, this close to watching the Terminator, like, just that close. Instead, I watched
dun, dun, dun.
Ty West, The Innkeepers. Ugh. That's a conversation for another day.
The fuck is that?
Ty West.
What is that?
I'll tell you about it later.
Yeah, you tell me about that later. But yeah, there is a 80s King Kong movie called King Kong Lives. I was considering putting it on the list because I told you I wanted you to watch a 80s Godzilla movie. Mm-hmm. and Godzilla vs. King Kong is gonna happen in like 2020. So I figured we could do like, I don't know, something like having to do with like the modern era King Kong and the modern era Godzilla. Modern being like 70s and 80s.
I feel like,
but yeah, King Kong Lives is not good.
If I was to give you a Godzilla month, or you get to pick 4 Godzilla movies for me to watch and we could discuss in a podcast format, I feel like your nose would bleed trying to figure out which ones you would want to do.
No, I would have a stroke right then and there. Like, just but yeah, I mean, there's that famous Charlie Day photo from It's Always Sunny with him with the pegboard or whatever.
With the
it's like him looking for conspiracies or something. I know this. How can you not know this? I've never even seen the fucking show.
Okay, so there's a lot going on with that show. I don't remember that specifically, but it will come to me.
Okay, well, it's a famous picture of him with a bunch of cards like pinned to a board, and there's a bunch of like wires or like cords like connecting all the different. Yeah. And he's freaking out because he's looking for conspiracies or something.
I'm sorry. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about now. It's going to take me a minute. That is when Mac and Charlie, so that they can get health insurance, start working in the mailroom of a company. And Charlie thinks he's uncovered a conspiracy about this person called Pepe Silva. Pepe Silva, he's everywhere. I looked in the records and there's no Pepe Silva. And Mac explains to him, he's like, listen, Charlie, he has everybody's mail. And he's like, listen, not only do all these people exist that you're talking about, like Carol, like wherever you got her letter from, but everybody's looking for their mail and that's all they can talk about. Charlie lost his mind. The other thing that somebody just pointed out on Reddit a few months ago was that this Pepe Silva, Charlie's illiterate. He can't read. Pepe Silva is him mispronouncing Pennsylvania because it's Philadelphia.
Oh.
So he's like, Pepe Silva. Everybody's Pepe Silva.
Oh, no.
So
no.
It has layers, Trevor. That's how great that show is. It has layers. I actually just watched a clip from the season 13. I haven't even seen the last couple of seasons. I watched a clip from the season 13. I was laughing my ass off. I can't wait to watch the rest of the seasons I haven't even got to. But it's on Hulu.
Yeah, you better get to it.
I don't have the upgraded Hulu, and I have to watch commercials. So until I get it upgraded, I'm not going to get caught up on them.
Okay, well, you better get to it whenever you can. But the point I was trying to make with that reference, that thank you for providing the background on.
Anytime.
Because I never knew that.
I'll explain anything from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia anytime you want. Anytime.
And I will let you do that anytime you want because it's fun to listen to. Your eyes light up. But the point I was trying to make is that if you gave me 4 episodes, like if you made me pick 4 Godzilla movies, that would be my process. It'd be very in-depth. It'd be very involved. And I'd be freaking the fuck out up until the minute we start recording.
That's like, or you could honestly just do...
But Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, and Ghidorah, the 3-headed monster, and the Heisei, and the Showa, and the Millennium Era.
I mean, honestly, you could have your own side... We could have our own side feature called the Godzilla cast. Like, it's just us doing it. We have to do a side thing, basically.
That's how much Godzilla cast.
The Godzilla cast, because that's how many Godzilla movies there are. I wanted to mention Percy Rodriguez. For those of you listening who don't know who Percy Rodriguez is, you've heard him, you know him. He did the trailers for most movie trailers in the 60s and 70s, I would assume. Well, at least the 70s and 80s, maybe not the 60s. He might have been too young, and his voice hadn't quite gotten to that deep, like deeper than Billy D. Williams deep. But I liked his take on doing the advertising for the movie. I don't know how much they spent on advertising for it, but it seemed like they did. They put in quite an effort. But he suggested that he do like a deep, ominous tone as opposed to like Jaws. And he has this funny line where he's just like, I think my voice was responsible for people being afraid of going into the water because like the advertising was really good for this movie, for Jaws apparently, and I just like how he got a kick out of that.
No, I actually took note of that for sure because that was fun for me. Because I think I mentioned it before on the air. I used to have a VHS tape called "Fantastic Dinosaurs of the Movies." It was this wonderful tape that it's just like an hour of nothing but trailers for like monster movies from the 50s through the 70s, and just just the novelty of seeing the different style of trailer, because they used to like show you the whole fucking movie. Like,
Yeah.
they used to show you the whole movie, and then they like there was a lot of repetition where they'd be like Reptilicus, Reptilicus, Reptilicus.
Somebody pointed that out about Steven Seagal's like contemporary Steven Seagal trailers. They show it's like 2.5 minutes long. There's like an orchestra playing over it, and it's like they literally give you the premise of the entire like the whole movie. It's like,
Well, dude, that General Commander movie that came out like a couple months ago, I think they show the shot where he kills the bad guy. I think they show the
the
exact
name.
shot
I don't
in
know
which he does it.
Why is that a funny name, General Commander? It just doesn't make sense.
Because it sounds like a bullshit phrase.
General
I
Commander.
don't think those words go together in that sequence.
I hope he never dies. Honestly, just keep.
Just a heads up, Kyle. He has a new one coming out next month.
Oh, outstanding! I can't
It's
even
on
watch
the Blu-ray list.
I can't even watch his movies. I can just the trailer's all you need because that's all the Steven Seagal you're getting in that movie. By the way, in contemporary Steven Seagal movies, that's all you're
every
getting.
shot. That's every frame.
Every frame he's in the trailer, and his only frames are in the trailer. Like that's it. So you don't need to watch his movies. Just watch the trailers.
About Percy Rodriguez, though, I wanted to say that a couple quotes here, directly from the trailer, which they do show a few seconds of, which was kind of cool. It is as if God created the devil and gave him jaws. And I was like, that is fucking money, man.
That was that. I took a
and-
mental note of that.
And then see it before you go swimming. And I was like, fuck yes, that's how you get asses in seats.
Yeah,
and Kevin Smith had the best follow up though. He was like the weed to the crack of Jaws.
Yeah,
as
I
in
caught
like
that.
the gateway drug to Jaws. I was like, that's beautiful, Kevin
I
Smith.
got a kick out of the directors that they got for this documentary.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is like M. Night Shyamalan. I think around the time that they interviewed him, he's at the height of his powers. Eli Roth, Bryan Singer, Eduardo Sanchez. Oh, I didn't look up any of his films or anything he's produced. Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, I don't know him.
Dude, he got like basically all the directors that he got for this are pretty much in the doghouse for the most part. I just thought it was kind of funny. You go, Jaws is a huge part of like who I am as a director and my technique and like trying to implement what Spielberg did with that movie. Eli Roth, I feel, is probably the one that I would like the best out of all those guys. Just. I don't know what. There's something about him. I don't like all of his movies, but I appreciate him.
Eli, yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Eli Roth, I don't think has ever made a truly great film, but all of his films are distinctly his, and I can appreciate that. Like I can identify just without seeing his name attached to it. Just if I was to watch them without knowing that he was involved, it's like there's something weird about this horror movie. I think Eli's involved.
I think Eli Roth did
something
this.
with this. Yeah, I think something with the sense of humor. There's something weird about it. Like Dr. Bongo. Yeah.
my only complaint with M. Night Shyamalan, besides his bad movies that he definitely has, he definitely has movies that I really, really enjoy. But the problem is there's very few of them that are rewatchable because it's all built on a twist, and unfortunately that doesn't make a movie very rewatchable. Signs, though, is probably his most rewatchable movie because not much of a twist there. It's just a good movie.
I think Unbreakable is my most watchable Shyamalan movie, but Signs is good. It's very good.
I watched Split. I finally watched Split.
Yeah.
I didn't get to Glass. Split was fine.
Neither did I.
It just
Yeah, Split's not amazing. It's more just like one really, really, really good performance and then a movie based around it. It's missing something, but McAvoy's definitely swinging for the fences.
Yeah, he's gonna show up. Can you, when you put the title for this episode, can you put Jaws documentary / just general rant about the things.
Kyle and Trevor finding excuses to talk about everything but the movie they just watched.
It's not a. It's really, in all honesty, it's not a movie. I don't think it's really even much of a documentary. It looks like one, and it's advertised as one, but there's not really much. You don't really get too terribly much from it.
Well, the vibe that I got from it, both from the style of narration and even the photography, like I don't know if you'd call it like film stock or the general aesthetic of it, the way it looks. It feels like something you would put on cable in between screenings of Jaws movies.
Thank you.
It feels like there should be commercial breaks, and it feels like you would play 5 minutes of it at a time and then cut back to Jaws. It'd be like it's almost like watching a Joe Bob Briggs episode of a movie or something.
I felt like this was in between. Like, this is like the man. I watched Man in the Iron Mask on HBO or whenever it. Yeah, I think it was on Stars or Encore, one of those movie channels. And they'd have like clips with like interviews with Leo in between, and I'm like, I feel like this would be after Jaws, like in between. Yeah, but this would be like, you'd see like 10 minutes. 10 minutes in between. It has a weird feel to it, and the music throughout it's just too loud through the whole thing, and it doesn't stop.
It feels cheap is the main thing to me. It feels like something produced for television rather than something that was intended to go into film festivals and have like a really strong message or doing any sort of legwork towards like educating the viewer. Because I told you off the air, like, a lot of the finer details about the making of the movie that are mentioned during this documentary, it's like, I already knew this shit. My dad knew that shit, like, before the internet.
So if anybody out there interviews Richard Dreyfuss before he passes away, if you're just sitting there with him and, like, finishing up and, like, I had just one more thing I wanted to ask you about. Gryffindor's tribe. He's just going to take the mic off and then get up, probably.
It's like, you told me nobody was going to bring that up.
You'll set him
I expressly said I would only sit down for this fucking interview if you guys did not bring up that fucking movie.
Yes, Bill Murray was an asshole.
It's like, you told me we're only going to be talking about Mr. Holland's opus.
I would want to know about...
Only Mr. Holland's.
I'd want to know about Another Stakeout. I feel like that was... that movie.
Hey, Kyle, guess what's on the Blu-ray list for August?
Another Stakeout. Dude, yep. I watched it not too long ago. It does not hold up.
Oh, don't tell me that. I was obsessed with that movie when I was young.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And Dennis Farina is a gem. He is the best part of that movie.
Yeah, he's the only good part of it.
Him and Miguel Ferrer, to me, they both steal that movie. Dennis Farina getting brain freeze? Him getting brain freeze, eating the ice cream too fast is the funniest fucking thing in that movie.
It is pretty great. I was actually thinking about Miguel Ferrer today. I was thinking about him in Blank Check. I had a cigar. I was going to go have a cigar outside, and I just remember him in Blank Check smoking the cigar. And then I thought about RoboCop, obviously. I wanted to mention that to you. I wanted to mention there's this moment in Blank Check where Tone Loc and Miguel Ferrer, they grab that little nasty redheaded kid, and they're like, "Yeah, you're coming with us." And he's like, "Bite me or something." And Tone Loc just grabs him by the ear, basically. He's like, "Man, I don't think that was I don't think that was acting." Because Tone Loc's his response is just fantastic. I wanted to mention merchandising. I learned about how much merchandising was attached to this film, and this came out in 1975. You know who took a note of that? Steven Spielberg's buddy, George Lucas. Because
like, oh hey, that shark's making a lot of money on T-shirts. Maybe we should print some T-shirts for Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm dead serious. I'm like, they probably saw how much money they were making from merchandising, and he's like, ooh.
Yeah, I don't think the hot rod shirts are selling very well. Maybe the kids like space. Maybe we should print more space toys.
The kids aren't wearing condoms these days, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna make Star Wars T-shirts, and then the kids are gonna wear the Star Wars T-shirts, and then they're not gonna get laid, so they don't even.
They're
need
not
the
gonna
condom.
get laid. They're not gonna get laid, and maybe in their frustration, they'll go out and buy some hot rods, and maybe that'll sort things out.
Even
Maybe
if-
they'll get everybody back into hot rods.
Even if they don't get the even if they don't get a T-shirt, if they get a young lady back to the house and in his bedroom, she'll see his figurines and she's not gonna have sex with him.
Look, I'm helping. It's population control. It's gonna be
Population
a problem
control.
in the future. Yeah, the environment. It's the '70s. The environment's like of prime concern. We gotta like take care of the situation, and get hot rods.
2 jars next to each other. Jar.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. We should make him the star of episode 1, because I have enough foresight that I can plan that far ahead. I have so many notebooks, Steven. Steven.
The poster I thought was really interesting. I didn't know about the poster.
Yeah, that was really cool. That was genuinely cool.
So I noticed that did Roger Castell do the original Star Wars or The Empire Strikes Back poster? Because I saw it.
Yes.
Interesting.
It's the one with, I think it's Luke on the Tauntaun. I think Drew Struzan may have done one, but I think Castell did one of them.
Oh,
Roger Castell is the artist who he basically used the cover of the novel as a prompt, which if you look at the original cover for the novel, it's kind of muted. Like I want to say it's a more realistic rendering of a shark, because it doesn't have its teeth bearing. It's the same image, so it's a shark swimming upwards towards a woman who's at the surface of the water. He just like gave it some balls, and I guess he'd never drawn a shark before. Yeah, and he went to like the Natural History Museum. He asked them if he could take a look at whatever shark exhibits they had. They happened to have some, and he just used one as a reference and created this wonderful rendering that we all adore to this day. And what I thought was funny is that he had a model for the woman, who personally my eye doesn't really go there. Like my eye centers on either the word Jaws or on the shark. The woman's just kind of there. But to see that and like to have it put center frame, it's like, oh shit, like there is detail there, and holy shit, he used a model for that what looks like a very tiny figure on the canvas, and he said he had her like doing a swimming motion or something, and it didn't take him very long. In fact, he stressed that a few times. It's like, yeah, didn't take me that long. Made this amazing painting.
How do artists get their models? Do they have an agency they go through, or they just are like in the line at McDonald's and like, would you like to model for me? How do they acquire models?
I don't know about today in this highly politically correct era. I don't know how common it is for scouts to approach people in public. I know that used to be a thing that was done, where people would just come out with business cards and be like, "Hey, how you doing? You should take your clothes off for me."
Model for you?
But,
no, I don't want to get my throat slit in your basement. Thank you for asking. Get the fuck away! Get the
Exactly.
fuck away!
I don't see that working in 2019. But I know that is how business used to be done to some extent. But another fun detail about this Roger Castell fella was that apparently this model, he was doing like a advertisement, like I think he said like Time Life or something. So he was using her for an advertisement painting that he was contracted to do, and with like a half an hour left or something on their session, he said, "Oh, I'm also doing this movie poster. You mind sticking around a little bit longer?" And she was like, "Yeah, okay." So it was very much by happenstance. It's like, oh, she could have just said no, but it came together beautifully. It's a wonderful poster, maybe one of the most iconic images in Hollywood history.
Did you know John Williams did the theme?
I did not know that, Kyle. Oh my
crazy.
God, John Williams. Who's that? Like,
Yeah,
has he done many movies, Kyle?
Yeah, I think he's done
Maybe a
few.
Yeah, Indiana Jones and the
I think
Kingdom of
there's a
the
little
Crystal
sci-fi.
Skull, one of his best.
Honestly, I don't remember if he did Schindler's List, but I remember reading something about the composer for that. It was a funny little bit from Schindler's List. I guess he was like, I don't want to write the symphony for you because you need a better composer. And he's like, you're right, I do. But they're all dead.
But I want to say he was involved, but the person who gets the most praise for that score is Itzhak Perlman, who's a famous violinist, very famous. Like, I've heard some of his other music outside of cinema and stuff. He's excellent. His klezmer music. But yeah, John Williams did the score. I was kind of surprised they focused all of their attention in this documentary on the theme of the actual shark, that the famous donut 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 theme.
Yeah.
But to me, like it needed to be said that like top to bottom, the score is amazing. Like every track is amazing.
That's how they start with. I was gonna say, isn't that how they start the documentary? Is with the or is that where they start this?
I think so.
This chapter.
I think they start the documentary with it, but the point is, they mostly just center on the theme of the shark whenever they're talking about the music. But anyone listening out there that has any interest in film scores, you owe it to yourself to listen to not just that track or not just that part of the score, but the whole fucking thing, because it's top to bottom just amazing. Some of the music that just plays in Amity, like the 4th of July music, it's so upbeat. It's very, I don't know, welcoming and homely, and like some of Chief Brody's themes. Everybody has their own melody on the boat at the end, on the Orca, and it all like weaves in and out beautifully. Like I think my favorite track on the score is called like Man vs. Beast, and it starts the moment Bruce the shark, who I guess we should talk about, makes his iconic appearance on screen when Chief Brody's shucking chum into the ocean. Mm-hmm. It starts from there, and it plays out when they're shooting barrels onto Bruce, and they start chasing him and stuff. And like over that like 3 to 4 minute piece of music, we get like Chief Brody's theme, we get the Sharks theme, we get Quint's theme, we get a bit of Hooper's theme. It all blends beautifully. It's amazing. But yeah, Bruce the Shark, we really ought to spotlight, because that's some of the best parts of the documentary, is just talking about the logistical concerns with getting this fucking shark to work. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's where the title of the movie comes from. It was life size. I mean, that cannot be emphasized enough. It was a 25-foot robot, basically.
Yeah.
That could be utilized in the water, and we did film a good chunk of this movie on the actual ocean, which Spielberg is very candid about saying, yeah, that was dumb. Probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Soundstage may have sufficed, but in some ways it's like it gives the movie a look and a feel that probably couldn't have been achieved back then or today, if it hadn't been actually shot on the ocean. But yeah, this 25-foot behemoth would break down constantly. And force everybody to shoot around it. And I guess it was dangerous, too. Like, it didn't move correctly, and maybe was a little herky-jerky with the way it moved when you had control of it.
I got kind of a kick out of them, like, there was a few outtakes where they just had, like, the fin going through, and then it would kind of raise up a little bit, and you'd see, like, the bars and stuff. And I just wanted to get, like, just little clips of Steven Spielberg. Okay, ready? Action. Fuck! Okay, reset. Okay. Are we ready? Yeah. It takes like 10 minutes for them to get it back over there where it needs to be. Okay. Action. Fuck! It just keeps coming up. God damn it. Just somebody. It's probably really frustrating. Like, he probably cried a few nights. It won't work. It won't fix it.
Shark won't work.
God damn it. Robert Shaw's being a dick.
That's what's funny, is like Spielberg, I don't think I've ever seen an interview with him where he was anything but like perfectly composed. Mm-hmm. Like he strikes me as being on a little bit. Like, it does seem like maybe a little bit of an act, but I don't know of a better director to represent the art of American filmmaking. Like, he's just so perfect in that role.
Yeah.
Like, he just has such a perfect, like, sunny atmosphere about him where it's like, he's very upbeat, he's very positive, but he's clearly insanely talented and driven. But he's so incredibly humble. Like, he everybody else is patting him on the back throughout this entire documentary, minute to minute. But, like, whenever he's talking in front of the camera, he's, like, not making much of a big deal about it.
Patting him on the back? I don't think they were patting him on the back. They were
jerking him off.
They were kissing
blowing him.
I was gonna say, they were hugging him with their mouths, and by him I mean his penis. Yes, they were.
To quote, from was it The Matrix Revolutions? She wasn't kissing you on your lips. Lipstick? What lipstick?
Gross. This is this is a suck fest. I wanted go ahead, Bruce.
I just wanted to say that the thing I wanted to say about Spielberg is that I think we opened this month talking about Hearts of Darkness, right? And Coppola, we get to see him bare. We get to see him bare his soul on camera. Not quite to the extent that Martin Sheen did, but we get to see him frustrated. We get to see him off kilter. Spielberg, though, like, the way he describes the shoot, it doesn't sound easy. Like, it sounds like it was pretty fucking rough. But we don't get to see that. We know that, but we don't actually get to see the curtain pulled back and actually see what that was like minute to minute. And I really would have loved to have seen that, because, like, in a lot of ways, this movie is kind of a miracle that it actually came together the way it did.
Smoke and mirrors. I think some of it might be about the mood you're trying to capture, because Spielberg doesn't make heavy films, in my opinion. I'm sorry. Schindler's List is extraordinarily heavy. It might be one of the heaviest movies of all time. But I know that was very taxing on him, and I think it took him I read it took him like an hour after shooting Schindler's List to like get into the mode of editing Jurassic Park. Like, he just had to really fuck. I was really like, anything with shoes was really bad. But yeah, maybe he's just better at keeping his composure than Coppola.
I think he's more just like a guarded personality in some ways. Because to be honest, I don't hear much about his personal life and stuff, and I think it makes for pleasant interviews, but maybe not the most insightful ones.
He's got because he's got like a child that he takes it out on or something, or he's got like a a gimp.
There's subtext in a lot of his movies that suggests that he's got some ishes.
He's got Tom Hanks in a closet with a gag in right now. Like, just works him over.
No, he probably like accidentally slips up when he's saying like, "Oh, hey Tom, it's been years," except it comes out, "Dad." And he's like, "Whoa. Steven, whoa.
Steven.
Steven. Oh, man, side note. I always wanted to do, like, if I had all the money in the world, I would do, like, a Saturday Night Live skit or something with Tom Hanks. And it's Oscars night. You have a bunch of the Saturday Night Live players up on the stage imitating actors and actresses and stuff. And they're, like, doing the award ceremony, and they're opening the envelope. And then they're doing, like, Best Actor or something. They're about to announce the award, and they say, "Oh, Matthew McConaughey!" And then we cut to like a shot of Tom Hanks in the crowd, and he's just doing knife hand, like, no, no, we're not doing that. And then they're like, Tom Hanks, and he's like, "Oh yeah, did you make a movie this year, Tom?" No.
You could probably pitch that, Trevor. They've been scraping the bottom of the barrel for about a decade now at Saturday Night Live, so you could probably get a full-time writing job if you went ahead and just pitched that real quick.
Oh, score.
Oh, man. I wanted to mention Verna Fields. They mentioned her briefly. Did she win an Oscar for editing this film? Because they were handed 3 awards. I can't remember if one of them was for editing. I think it was.
It was.
Okay.
It absolutely was. I think one of them was for the score as well.
Obviously.
But yeah, I don't know much about her, to be honest, but I had seen this documentary a long time ago. I forget where, but I remember telling you that ahead of time that This was an editor that Steven Spielberg trusted a lot of his work to for a huge chunk of his career. And there's actually like a genuinely interesting little chunk of this documentary where there's that one scene that they go over where they filmed it in her swimming pool.
Yeah.
It was the equivalent of like a reshoot. So it's the scene where Richard Dreyfuss is underwater diving, and they find
night.
the gentleman's boat. Yeah, night diving.
Super safe.
Matt Hooper, expert night diver. Yeah. And yeah, there's a jump scare and a shark tooth is found, blah, blah, blah. If you've seen the movie, which I'm sure you have, you remember it. Anyway, that was filmed in her swimming pool. And then we get to see some like archival footage of her actually editing the movie. And you can tell that Steven Spielberg is in the room like filming her, and they're talking. And I guess they would just labor over these movies, editing them together. Hopefully he wasn't too much of a dick about it.
Patton Oswalt had a really funny joke about directors, and he was like, directors it's kind of like a marriage. Like the editor is the wife, and the director is the husband. And the husband's just like, I'm just gonna get everything. I'm gonna get everything together. We're gonna build something awesome. And he just takes all this stuff. And then the wife comes in and is like, okay, honey, thanks for grabbing all this stuff. Now you go lay down now. And now I'm going to make something coherent out of all this crap that he just put together. And I don't know, when I saw that she was the editor, I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny. Like, maybe that's where Patton Oswalt got the idea. I was like, yeah, he shot all the stuff. He had a vision, but she's the one that actually put together a movie. It was just I wanted to learn more about her. I want to know what else she edited. I'm assuming she's no longer with us.
Yeah, now that you know her name.
Yeah.
No, she passed.
I had a feeling.
But now that you know her name, though, yeah, it might be worth looking into. Because, I mean, being an editor on a film wow, that is a tricky spot to be in. Because you basically are making the movie.
You're the one making the movie. That's why she got an Oscar. Because, he shot the movie, and then together, more or less, they came up with this movie. Like, they came up with a film, like an actual story. You're the one putting together.
It's not a film until it's been edited. So in a lot of ways, it's like you have all the pressure in the world weighing down on you.
Well, not only that, but you have, I'm assuming, the director bugging you. You have producers bugging you about it, and other people that I have no idea in that movie hierarchy bugging you about what they want. It's probably very stressful, and maybe that's why she did it. Maybe that's why she did it at her home. I
think so.
That's interesting. I,
so.
didn't even think about that. Like, she's like, no, come to the studio. Like, no. I'm going to do it in my house. Don't go on my property. I'm putting together a movie. That's kind of cool. Yeah. I didn't think about that.
That is cool.
I wanted to mention we can't not mention John Milius, but
he came back.
I realized watching this that my favorite parts of this movie, of not this documentary, but of Jaws, is Robert Shaw. His entrance into the movie with the chalkboard. I mean, that's it's been parodied a lot. We mention it a lot.
Oh yeah.
A doll's eyes. But the USS Indianapolis story, I had forgotten about this movie. Like, I'd forgotten about Jaws until going back fairly recently, about a year ago. I was like, he's what makes going into the ocean scary for me, is that story. For me, like, that's what does it for me. And I'm like, he's my favorite part of the whole movie. I'm like, yeah, like, the shark effect, like, the shark robot is cool, but I'm like, his story is chilling, and it's fucking and I was watching it with my girlfriend, and she was like, "This didn't really happen." I'm like, no, this really did happen. This is an actual story.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
when I heard, so I don't know if it was Steven Spielberg who said it. He's just like, yeah, John Milius wrote a 9-page speech. Of course he did. Oh man.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, that documentary just called Milius, you ought to watch it. It's pretty amazing. He popped onto my radar when I used to be really into Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah, as well.
I read a lot of the comics. Yeah, I read a lot of the comics and, of course, the Arnold movies. But my brother, I think he was the one that insisted I listen to the director's commentary on Conan the Barbarian, which at that point in my life I really wasn't doing. I wasn't really listening to commentaries, but my brother was like, "You need to listen to this," and it's John Milius and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Arnold does not remember the movie, and he sounds a little drunk or a little stoned.
Of course he doesn't.
And John Milius. Yeah, like all the time, like John Milius will be just talking up like, oh yeah, and then he ascends the mountains and he draws his sword and he fights the barbarian hordes and it's biblical, it's amazing. And then there's this long pause, and then Arnold just goes, yeah. It keeps happening throughout the whole thing.
I didn't realize until just now how phallic that ending of Conan the Destroyer is. That demon is like
the horn.
Yeah. Also,
yeah, he castrates the demon. Yeah.
Of all the athletes they could have cast to be in that movie, for a phallic movie, they chose Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain. It's a little on the nose, don't you think?
The man with the reputation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bombata, no. But yeah, John Milius is incredible. And yeah, that speech, I remember my dad would always go like silent and be like, "Shut up! You shut up! Like we're listening to this. Like you shut up!" Yeah, this is a dad moment. It's excellent, and Robert Shaw was excellent in that role.
His death,
I love. One of the best deaths in cinematic history.
Absolutely.
One of the most chilling.
I'd say top 10.
It's painful to watch every time.
Easily top, because it's a slow motion guillotine. Like it's just, you're just watching somebody in agony. It's it's good. It's real good.
Yeah, well, because like the lead up to it, how you get like good solid 5 seconds where it's like he might make it, he might make it, he might make it, he doesn't make it. But it's Spielberg. That's like Spielberg's maybe his greatest gift, is being able to like fiddle with those nerves. Like he's as far as I know, he hasn't like expressly just made a straight up horror movie before. But he has a sense for how to get under your skin. He really has a knack for that. And that scene and like the knife scene in Private Ryan and a lot of stuff in his filmography.
Oh man,
really does chill you.
I've been sitting here thinking about like Steven Spielberg everybody should have a favorite Steven Spielberg movie, and I completely beefed on Saving Private Ryan.
You forgot Private Ryan?
Holy shit! Like, oh my goodness, I forget. Like Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan. He might be the greatest director of all time. Like, not even from a money making standpoint, just storytelling. Just his movies are that great. If you've never heard of him, Steven Spielberg, look him up. Trending.
He's kind of in a league of his own. Like he's a very unique talent. Like he does things with his movies that I don't know where the inspiration comes from, but he always seems to make it look easy. It's kind of incredible, actually.
And I don't even know what his budget is. Like I want to go back now and look at what the budget was for Saving Private Ryan. Not even for actors. Just like I wonder what the actual production, what it cost. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was fairly low, and he would still pump out something that's fantastic. But I remember like the behind the scenes stuff for that the Beaches of Normandy. Like I remember seeing like, oh, here's how we did this. We did the squib. I'm sure the word squibs came up at some point. I'm not sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I saw the same featurette.
Man, I don't know if I'm gonna watch Jurassic Park when we get done, or if I can't do Saving Private Ryan right now. That's just too much. But I'm gonna be watching a Spielberg movie in the next 48 hours. I can tell you that much.
Well, the thing about Private Ryan I remember the most about the making of, and I think I just saw like an HBO featurette or something, was that a lot of the quote unquote squibs they were using were actually just activated by air pressure. Because it wouldn't be feasible to rig up that many explosive devices. So for for certain coordinated shots, they were using traditional squibs, but for a lot of the stuff like on the beach, apparently it was just air hoses and stuff, because you couldn't afford it. Like, you couldn't afford to have technicians running pyrotechnics and stuff, especially when you're shooting all the shit handheld and it's very chaotic. You need to be able to reset and do it again real quick. So that was interesting. And again, that's an example of like a limitation creating a very interesting scene.
You know how
my dad
your dad shushed you whenever Robert Shaw does his USS Indianapolis speech. There's two scenes that I shush people for in Saving Private Ryan. It's Adam Goldberg's death, which is one of the worst movie deaths. Like, that is I'd say top 10, honestly, because that is painful to watch. My other shush moment is when Tom Sizemore's character gets shot. I don't know why it's the funniest.
Mike!
It's one of the funniest things when he's like, Mom!
I'm alright, I just got the wind knocked out of me.
No,
hang on, are you talking about when he throws the helmet?
When he throws the helmet, that's the one.
Yeah.
He's like, motherfucker.
Son of a bitch!
Yeah.
Son of a bitch!
I love it. Say what you will about Tom Sizemore. He has his moments.
Sergeant Horvath.
He has one of the funniest scenes in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia history. Like,
yeah, you sent me that. You sent me that.
The one of the funniest things.
Oh, it's so uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable. It's great. That show's genius. So yeah,
it was good.
I did have my other note here about Robert Shaw. Was like, yeah, I love that he was picking on Richard Dreyfuss. I totally get that. But yeah, now that I've kind of like thought about it, like the way he cut down that speech from 9 pages to 5 and churned out that chilling little speech. I think you're right. I think he was going a little bit not necessarily method, but he was like pushing and prodding to get him like kind of pissy. I can't believe that Richard Dreyfuss couldn't do 20 push-ups though. That was kind of
funny. I loved Scheider's commentary on that, where he's like, Richard, I don't think you're that guy.
I'm just like,
that was so cold.
I'm like, he can't do 20 push-ups. Like, he's an adult man. He can't do 20 push-ups. I'm
yeah.
like, can people not do that many? Grown
I know it's hard to imagine.
I'm
yeah.
sorry. I'm not like that physically fit, but I'm like 20 push-ups. I mean,
20's not that much.
He was like, you can't do 50 push-ups. I'm like, well, shit, I would probably break a sweat trying to do 50 right now. But
yeah.
Good ones, yeah. Come on.
But yeah, what always interested me about the relationship of the characters on the Orca, the three, Brody, Hooper, and Quint, is that I always got the sense that like there was like a mutual respect between Quint and Hooper that I don't know if it actually translated to the actors' relationship to one another, but you could. I think what Quint was doing, and I could be totally off base making this assumption. I think what he was doing is that he was reading him as a person and understanding that in order to get this person where they need to be a successful sailor and, you know, successfully kill this shark, I need to be a dick because he will respond to it, because he is a bratty kid. He's a bratty rich college kid. And if I'm not hard on him, then I won't get what I need from him. So I feel like maybe it was forced on Quint's end, where it's like he doesn't like him genuinely, but at the same time he's like amplifying it as a means to an end. Yeah, it's just it's something that like only a wise person could do. It's like, you know, I know you. It's like, I know you better than you know yourself, and it may seem like I'm being unfair to you. I am, but guess what it's doing? It's getting you to do things more quickly and better, because you're mad at me, and you want to show me who you are. You know.
I had my mind blown the other day. I've been watching clips from Mad Men. I've never watched the show. I've seen like the first episode, but I was watching a clip where they're getting into a subordinate, and they're like, listen, Don here, he's a military man. You went through college, but he's still your superior here. He's your boss. I'm like, wait a minute. There was a time in America where you could just go to the military and that was college, like enlisted. Now we're not even talking about officer. Like I think he was just enlisted. I'm like, you could just military your way into business. Like, whoa, I didn't even know you could do that. You can't do that now.
No, sir.
It
doesn't work like that anymore.
Can you even get a job at Starbucks without a college education? I mean, I don't even know anymore.
In
Jesus.
Seattle, probably.
Yeah,
not.
probably not. Not in Seattle. You didn't even go to college? I have a master's. I have a master's.
Yeah, for real.
I have a master's and I live in Rainier Beach and I work at Starbucks. That's an inside joke for Seattle people. Yeah, that's how poor everybody is in Seattle.
So yeah, and one thing that this documentary actually does a pretty good job of is covering the locals at Martha's Vineyard, where the film Jaws was shot. They did a really cool thing with the way they shot this film because the shark wasn't working and because the schedule ran way longer than expected. Apparently, the film crew just kind of hung out at the vineyard for much longer than expected, and as a result, a lot of the casting was done kind of on the spot, where they just put up like casting calls for the locals and just said, "Hey, you want to be in a movie? Okay."
Send Tommy and Michael down to the harbor. Send Tommy and Michael down to the harbor. They're filming a movie. They're filming a movie by the harbor.
They're making a fucking film.
A fucking film, Judy. Send them down there. Pick me up a 6-pack of Schlitz.
Yes. Oh fuck. Some of the accents in this are like indecipherable. Like that is not American English.
No.
In particular, the guy who Robert Shaw hung out with and drew most of his inspiration for his character from. I forget the guy's name, but he's in the film. He's the gentleman whose corpse they find in the ship that they shot in the swimming pool. Some of his scenes in the movie, I don't know if you remember, Kyle, but it's when the entire like town goes out onto the sea to try to catch the shark, and Spielberg and his editor gal, they put this in the movie. It's just like a sustained 10-second shot of him hanging out, standing at attention while on a speedboat, just rambling, just saying stuff. He's not talking to anyone in particular, but he knows there's a camera running, and he's just going. And it's just like, oh my god, this guy is amazing.
Oh man!
But apparently, Robert Shaw hung out with him on the set and after hours, and just this guy filled his head full of fishtails. And apparently Robert Shaw bought into it. But the one other noteworthy person, to me anyway, is very famously, he's this heavy-set fellow with curly hair that he's in the scene when Richard Dreyfuss first arrives in the film. So Hooper's like hopping around the docks. All the people are like heading out to sea with their rifles and their depth charges and stuff. And he's looking for Chief Brody, and then that's when they catch the tiger shark. And then he's explaining to the locals, "Oh, hey, that's not, that's a tiger shark." And then that guy turns and looks directly in the camera and says the line. He says, "A what?"
Yeah,
it's just delivered in the most perfect cadence and tone. Like you couldn't replicate that. Just a what?
I've heard that I live on the East Coast now, and I've heard that it's Philly. People from Philly are the problem people, and I'm just trying to picture like somebody trying to film something in Philly. Like, we're gonna use the locals, and like no. They'll smack us. we can't have them on the set. Because I got a kick out of Spielberg saying that he was on the beach, and he's like, some lady with a thick northeastern accent came over there and just gave me what for about her kid being afraid to swim in the ocean. And
yeah, that was a good story.
And I'm like, I wonder how far into his career. I mean, he must have been like it must have been shortly after the film. Hopefully, because if it was like 90s Spielberg, I would have been like, can you get her away from me, please? Like, I don't give a shit about you. Fuck your kid. I don't give a shit if he's afraid to swim. Throw him in there. I don't care. I'm Steven fucking Spielberg. I made Jurassic Park, motherfucker. He doesn't talk like that, but you get what I mean. Like, it must have been short. And maybe he's actually really sweet. I mean,
he'd probably just like pause there, just like put up his hand and be like, "Ma'am, your kid's seen Jurassic Park, right? He loved Jurassic Park, right? It's like, I think we're about even, right? Okay. That's what I thought. I'm going to go back to the beach."
If he leaned down, like, you know what? I'm going to calm him down. I'm going to whisper something in his ear. If you don't get the fuck away from me right now, The kid just runs off screaming. Tell your mom to fuck off too. Jeez. Oh man, but yeah, I don't know. Like, there's a difference between like being accosted or being like yelled at in public. But when you're getting mom yelled at, I think you probably stand to attention. You're like, oh shit, what'd I do? Like, you probably didn't know what to do.
Yeah, no, I mean, it sounds like he handled it as best as he could. But the funny part from that was that he said he searched himself. He searched his feelings, and he couldn't tell the kid that it was safe in the ocean. He's like, it's not.
I just made a movie about
like,
how it's not safe. Did you see the movie?
Yeah, I mean,
I just
made
told
the
you.
movie. Yeah. It's like, I'd like to say you're not going to get attacked by a shark, but it might happen.
That's how he should have addressed it. He's like, tell him that it's safe out there. I'm like, ma'am, did you watch the film? Yeah. Well, then why would I tell him that? I made the movie because it's about the scary ocean. Jesus, did you watch the movie?
No, what he should have done is he should have whispered in the kid's ear, like, did you know there were 3 more movies? More people die. There were more sharks. Like, and don't bother going to SeaWorld. One gets in there, too.
You ever hear of dinosaurs, you little motherfucker?
Somewhere, someone out there is jerking off to our show right now. That makes me uncomfortable.
Oh, Jesus.
One thing I wanted to bring up, well, I mean, while we're on the subject, we should probably mention that the lady who played the Kintner mother, they have a good interview with her that's pretty cool. Apparently she was like a school teacher or something that had some acting experience, and she could improvise, so they asked her to do that role.
I was going to say, speaking of jerking off, she says, like, how many boys have I slapped, have asked me to slap them? I can't even count.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dude, that is fucking weird. I can't imagine I would meet somebody that had like an iconic slap that I would be like, hey, will you slap me? It's really fucking weird. But hey, to each their own.
Yeah, just I'll sign an autograph all day long, but I ain't doing that. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, she seemed like kind of a cool lady, and she did a bang up job with that scene. That's iconic.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to bring up was the filming of the shark cage. Which was kind of cool to get. That was very cool to get some insight into that. I will give that to this documentary. So, the shark cage, of course, in Jaws, is the scene where Hooper goes into the cage because we're getting desperate. I think that was at the point where the orca, their ship is sinking.
Yeah.
So it's like, fuck, we gotta kill the shark like right fucking now. So he brought a shark cage because that's what you do, and they slap it together. They put him in it. Like just beneath the boat, and it's this really tense scene where Richard Dreyfuss is being attacked by Bruce the shark while he's trying to jab it with like a poison dart, basically. Not a good plan. So apparently the way this scene was filmed was kind of cool, like really creative. This is kind of stuff this is why you watch documentaries about the making of movies. So they built a miniature shark cage, and a couple from Australia that apparently had a lot of experience working with wild sharks, like just doing nature photography and stuff. They took the shark cage out, and the plan was to have a little person in the cage, a little person by the name of Carl Rizzo. So this is a miniature scaled cage, and then a full-size great white shark attacks it. And the point here is we're trying to make the attacking shark look bigger. So it just so happened that like right before the little guy gets into the cage, and by the way, everyone involved in the production admits that, oh, by the way, the oxygen tank he had on his back, it was too small, but we probably didn't tell him that because despite his size as a person, he still consumes the same amount of oxygen, so it was just a small air tank.
There's still people.
But just before he's about to set foot in this thing, some fucking shark jumps on top of it and beats the shit out of it and actually drags it to the bottom of the ocean.
Dude.
And we get this all on film.
It is incredible to see how they almost killed a little person on the set of Jaws.
Yeah, he would have died. And then some.
Died. Dude. I saw that and I'm like, wait a minute. They were gonna put a guy in there. They were gonna put a person.
Jesus fuck.
I can't even describe to you. Like, you think that like sharks are kind of like docile and they kind of move slow and kind of sluggish, and then occasionally you see them jump out of the water, and still it's like, wow, they jumped out there really fast. But when they get a hold of something, they're like a fucking alligator. It's like, if he would have made it through that, he would have drowned down at the bottom of the ocean. But I don't think he would have made it through that.
No. God, no. No. Wow. Oh my God.
I was laughing.
The shark was on top of the cage and was duly pissed about it for sure. Like,
I was
thrashing around. It decimated that cage. Ugh. He would have, even if it didn't bite him, it would have just rolled over on his head and smashed him.
It would have knocked him out. It's a fucking shark.
Yeah. It was a full-sized great white shark that destroyed that cage and then some. But that was really cool to see.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna put a little.
A couple of Aussies on the ocean. Yeah.
You got little people. We'll put a little person in the shark cage. It'll be fine.
Put a little person in a cage.
No, it'll be fine. Oh man. So we kind of winded down here a little bit. I wanted to mention a few things that I thought were fucking stupid. This town. This is filmed in Martha's Vineyard, or just takes place in Martha's Vineyard?
Mostly filmed in Martha's Vineyard and takes place in the town of Amity. I think it was basically taking place there.
Jawfest, man. I saw that and I'm like, oh, you fucking losers. You guys do Jawfest every year. I don't know if it's still going on. Hopefully not.
I don't think it's every year.
Yeah, shut that shit down, dude. Maybe the 20th anniversary or something. Well, it's well past the 20th anniversary. 60th anniversary or something. I don't know. Yeah, I have written down Jawfest. Who gives a fuck? Come on. I get it.
Yeah. The last half hour of this documentary may as well just not be there because it's just fan wankery. Just talking.
The boat.
It's that's all it is.
Some guy was like, yeah, I saw they had the boat. Well, they destroyed the original Orca or something like that, and Spielberg was really upset.
That was kind of neat, actually. I like that anecdote where he apparently used to. The original Orca was apparently on the Universal Studios, and he would go out there to, like when he was contemplative and stuff, he'd just use it as like like an office, I guess.
Giant
and then one day they just smashed it.
Giant lizards. There's something there. Maybe one day I'll get there. I don't know. But yeah.
But apparently they smashed they tore down the boat, and he says though that he kept the steering wheel basically.
Yeah, but he Les Grossman.
Kind of cool.
He Les Grossman that guy. Like, I'm talking scorched earth, motherfucker. Like, he laid into him with his fat hands.
Yeah, that was actually pretty funny. He did say that he feels bad for whoever was on the other end of the phone when he first found out about the boat being gone.
Well, that was pretty funny. Well, that's not something Les Grossman would say, but that's fine.
Well, again, Spielberg is very poised, I guess. He's always very political when he's on camera. It makes him very affable, but at the same time, it makes me wonder, like, is that really how he is all the time? Like,
I could see it.
Can't be. Like,
well, he's still, a director. He's still got to run shit. I feel like there's like a way of speaking with people that's assertive, but it's not aggressive. It's like you're letting them know what you want and what you need, but you're not being a dick about it. And I'm assuming he's like that. He's like, I want things done a certain way, but I'm not going to be condescending. And I think there's a difference. Like
I have a feeling that his set is probably generally pretty friendly. Like it's like the doors open, or the paths for communication are open. The lines for communication are open.
All right, everybody, every group meeting before we get started on shooting, I'm a very generous director. I will be patient with you. That is fine. If anyone has a cell phone on this set, I will set you the fuck on fire. Let's have a great movie, everybody. Set on fire. All right. Yeah, all the super nerds on private property that destroyed the boat. They basically just came and took pieces of it. They were selling pieces of it for $100. Like, that was insane. They're like selling 6-inch pieces for $150 on eBay. I'm like, why didn't you just like hide the boat and then fucking sell that shit wholesale, like 20 years down the road or something? Idiot.
Well, I mean, Kyle, like, what? There's that famous article the other day about gal, like, Lady Bathwater or something was selling for X number of dollars.
Dude, you got to get on this, man. You got to like start selling your bathwater, or like start like farting into tidy whities and mailing them to weird people. No, I'm sorry, mailing them to people. Mailing them to people. I'm not here to
don't kink shame, Kyle. God damn it.
Yeah,
God damn it.
But they I've heard this marketed like anybody can do it. It's like, you can do it. You can fart in a tidy whitey, mail it to this person. Everybody's doing it. It sounds like something from like the Tim and Eric show or something. Oh man, it's
the point I'm trying to make though is like, is that real? Like, is that actual used bathwater? Is that actually part of the orca, or is that just a dirty piece of fiberglass?
It's authentic.
That you found.
It's authentic, dirty bathwater. Don't take it away from them.
Okay.
But yeah, they put Bruce on the Universal backlot, and when I saw it, I'm like, oh, that was in Mallrats. And then they show the scene in Mallrats where they get married when Jaws pops out of the water, because that's when he was gonna propose to his girlfriend, when Jaws pops out of the water.
Yeah, that's right. One thing, like a surprise appearance towards the very end of this documentary, and it does sound like we're wrapping up here, was Greg Nicotero. He popped in for a minute, and Tom Savini did as well. Two masters of gore. And those two guys are some of the best interviews you'll ever see in the movie industry. Tom Savini in particular is maybe the most enthusiastic person I've ever seen interviewed. He's wonderful.
Who was the older gentleman who worked on the set? They were talking about him. I'm assuming he's passed away now because he was old in like 1974. But they were saying that he was the one responsible for putting together Bruce and making him operate. I didn't catch his name. They mentioned him very briefly, but like he's just so positive. He was there every day working. He was always like looking at the glass.
Bob Maddie.
There we go.
Bob Maddie. I made special note of his name being dropped because I didn't know, but apparently he worked on 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
That's what it was. He made the giant squid.
Yeah, and that made me so happy. Like, that tickled me in just the right way, because that movie's very precious to me. I adore that film, and the giant squid was my favorite part of it.
I'm on a Kirk Douglas kick right now. I just watched Paths of Glory, which I really, really like. I didn't even realize it was Stanley Kubrick, but next up is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I'm going through some hunky Kirk Douglas films. I'm working through some stuff. So
we should do an episode on it because it's very special to me. I love that movie.
We could definitely do some Aquatica. If you want to do some Aquatica episodes.
Fuck yes.
Abyss.
Fuck yes.
Fucking Abyss.
Okay, we're doing both of those.
An Aquatica, yeah, Aquatica month.
Yeah. Carl Gottlieb is another name that needs to be mentioned. He played the mayor's assistant in the movie, and he was one of the screenwriters. But the main reason I bring him up is because his book, I believe it's like the making of Jaws, basically. Like all the directors they interview for this documentary cite that as like their Bible when they first got into filmmaking. And it makes me kind of want to read that book rather than watch this documentary.
It was Eli Roth's The Catcher in the Rye. Like, he just like read it so many times and obsessed over it. Yeah, I thought that I caught that too. I'm like, what are they talking about? I'm like, Trevor will know. I'll ask him. He's gonna know what they're talking about.
I have heard of the book. I've never read it, but I've heard of it. And like, having watched this documentary, if I'm going to take one thing away from it, it's that maybe I should look into reading it. Maybe. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm about tapped out on this movie.
Yeah, I'm tired.
Like I said, the last half hour or so is kind of empty. It's just like, yeah, Jaws has a legacy. You may or may not be aware of that already. But yeah, Jaws is, of course, an incredible film. Documentary is clearly not the most incredible film ever, but, you know, if you're really into Jaws, maybe you'll get something out of it. To me, all it did was make me just want to watch Jaws.
They pitched this. Remember Ricky Jay in Boogie Nights when they're filming? They're using tape. He's like, no, we just keep filming and filming. We just keep going, and there's just a bunch of tape. I wonder if that's what it was. Like, why do we need another Jaws documentary? We just need content, more and more. Just that people just need more and more Jaws content. We just keep going. I feel like they just touched on things that are probably touched on better in the making of Jaws documentary. Which I want to watch now. I feel like it would give me some more insight into like the actual construction of Bruce, the complications, what specifically were the problems. I want to know if Roy Scheider was actually kind of a mediator between Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss.
I mean, you get that sense, but I think a lot of the reason why this came out when it did, and it does feel like it was being compiled years before it was officially released, is, I don't know if you caught it, but like just before the credits roll, there's a like in loving memory of, and there are like 4 people that passed.
I was gonna say Rodriguez, what's his name? The announcer guy. He was old as
Percy Rodriguez.
Yeah, he was old.
Yeah, I think
as
Percy
shit.
Rodriguez passed. Mr. Brown, he's like, I called him like the consummate producer. He's the guy with the mustache and the bald head.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he is a fucking producer. He passed. Peter Benchley died. Roy Scheider died. There's a good chunk of this that we didn't talk about that it's just devoted to Peter Benchley talking about his stuff, which is mostly relating to nature conservation, because that was his thing. Obviously, it's not the most important thing to me, but it was important to him, and I'm guessing the documentarian felt the need to include that because, you know, the guy fucking died.
Yeah.
So if you have all those people pass in like a brief period of time, it's like, you know, maybe we need to get this out like now. It's only going to become less and less relevant if more time passes, and I think this was like a anniversary year or something of some sort.
Most likely.
Yeah, like a 35th or a 45th or something. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
No.
Even if you're obsessed with Jaws. I love the movie, but I didn't feel that I needed to watch this in any way. But yeah, it sounds like maybe I need to add that book to my reading list.
It's a little condescending, I would say, for Jaws enthusiasts. Like, yeah, we already knew all this stuff. We knew this. Why did we need this?
Yeah, like I said, my dad, pre-internet, knew half of the factoids that were imparted to me. And, you know, at the time I thought, oh, that's probably bullshit because, you know, it's coming from my dad. But, but it's like, oh, no, that was true. Cool. But, yeah, that was The Shark is Still Working. And I guess this concludes our Movies About Making Movies month here at Catching Up on Cinema, which I guess plays directly into August.
Correct.
Which you, Kyle, were kind enough to hand to me as a pet project. This will be Anime August.
Correct.
Wherein I will be in creative control of all the programming. So I will be selecting 4 Japanese animated films that Kyle will be catching up on. And the significance of that is the fact that Kyle is not terribly well versed in the world of anime. So the way I've put these together, I labored over this shit, Kyle. I gave myself some fucking stress headaches over this shit. The way I put together Anime August, I tried to structure it in such a way as to almost like a lesson plan. So each movie has a different director with a distinct flavor to them and a different approach to the medium. So this is effectively like a very strong introduction to what anime has to offer from, I think, 1993 through the present. So hopefully it works out.
Gotcha. All right. Looking forward to it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for joining us as we caught up on a whole lot of movies about making movies.
Correct.
Until next week.
Yeah.